What's up, Reefers, and welcome back to another video here at AquaSD. My name is Jack, and in this video we're going to be discussing 5 of the most common mistakes made by beginner reefers and how to avoid them. If you're thinking about starting a reef tank or even just want some insight on how to be a better reefer, this video is for you. Now let's get into the video. The first and most common mistake we see when someone is starting their first reef tank is not allowing the tank to cycle before adding fish and coral. When we say the word cycle, we are referring to the process of developing a beneficial bacteria load in the tank, which will help with the nitrogen cycle. The nitrogen cycle involves a process in which the bacteria break down waste in our tanks in the form of ammonia, then process it into nitrite, and then further process it into nitrate. This process is crucial for the health of our reef inhabitants because ammonia and nitrite can be toxic and lead to health issues or even death for our fish. The process of establishing a sufficient bacteria load in a reef tank often takes roughly 1 to 2 months and can sometimes take even longer. The way that we facilitate and monitor this process is by adding an ammonia source such as some fish food and then periodically testing for ammonia, nitrite, and nitrate. At first, your tests will show detectable ammonia, while nitrite and nitrate remain undetectable. Then, as the process continues, you'll start to see ammonia drop while nitrite rises. The way we know our cycle is complete is when nitrate is detectable, while ammonia and nitrite are undetectable. At this point, your cycle is complete and it is safe to start adding your first fish and corals. The second common mistake we see with first-time reefers is adding too many things to a tank much too quickly. You've waited all this time for your tank to finally finish cycling, and now it's time to load it up with all those pretty fish and corals you've been eyeballing at the reef store, right? Wrong. There is a saying in this hobby, and it goes, "Nothing good happens fast in a reef tank." This is especially true for a newer reef tank that hasn't had time to mature. This is mostly due to the fact that although your tank is cycled, the bacteria load still has a relatively low capacity for the increase in waste that will come along with adding more fish and corals. Instead of adding everything at once, it's better to take your time and add inhabitants in small amounts, then observe the effects that it has on your tank and the inhabitant itself. If after a period of a week or two, the tank and that inhabitant are looking healthy, then it's probably a good sign it might be ready for another addition. By moving slowly and adding new inhabitants over time, you can significantly increase your chances of success and ultimately pave a road to a long and fruitful reefing journey. The third mistake that we often see new reefers make is overstocking their tanks. When we first get into the hobby, we often find ourselves in awe of all the different types of fish that are available in the market and naturally want at least one of each. Many first-time reefers tend to overstock their systems with fish and then become confused when they have issues with being able to keep fish or corals alive for long. The problem with this is that each tank and filtration system can only handle so much waste before it starts to build up and cause nutrient levels to rise within that system. As nutrient levels rise too high, we often see corals begin to suffer first, and eventually as they reach toxic levels, the health of the fish will follow. The best way to combat this issue is first to determine the approximate critical mass of fish recommended for your system. A general rule of thumb is 5 gallons of water volume for each inch of fish. This means a 50-gallon tank can handle approximately 10 inches of fish. However, it is also worth mentioning that each type of fish will require specific tank sizes based on their natural ecosystems. Once you've determined your tank's capacity to support fish and pick fish appropriate for your system, add the fish slowly and be sure to account for the fact that the fish will grow as they mature. For example, a 1-inch hippo tank can easily grow to around 10 to 12 inches in a relatively short period of time, and thus will need a very large tank. Our best advice for success is to add only enough fish that your system will still be able to support their bioload all the way through to maturity. If you follow this advice, you are much more likely to experience success in your reef tank. The fourth common mistake we see with first-time reefers is making too many changes to their tanks all at once anytime they see something they don't like about it. This can come in many different forms, including moving things around, adjusting parameters, increasing or decreasing light intensity, as well as a myriad of other things. Although we may sometimes need to make changes to our system for the betterment of the system and its inhabitants, these changes are best made in a slow progression. The reason for this being that our reef inhabitants thrive most when kept in a stable environment. When changes happen in the ocean, it is often over a long period of time. Even still, those changes can sometimes have dire effects on ocean inhabitants if they are too extreme or happen simultaneously. As such, it is a good practice to adjust our systems one thing at a time and to do so slowly to avoid shocking or negatively affecting our inhabitants. When making changes, do so in a slow progression and observe the effects that those changes are having on the system. Let's say you notice a coral struggling and decide to move it closer to the light, but also decide to adjust your phosphate levels. Not only is it possible that both these changes might further stress the coral, but if the coral gets healthier, you won't actually know which change benefited the coral. By moving slowly and only making one change at a time, we can better deduce if that specific change is having a positive or negative effect on our system or inhabitants. The final beginner mistake that we will mention in this video is slacking off on routine tank maintenance. Often, first-time aquarists will start out hot and heavy when it comes to maintaining their reef tanks because it's new and novel to them. However, once they get comfortable with that tank, they can begin to neglect their systems. Things like skipping water changes, forgetting to feed fish, and neglecting to test water parameters can become a slippery slope as the system deviates further and further from its peak health. Failure to do routine water changes will often result in elevated nutrient levels, and this can lead to things like nuisance algae or a decline in the health of the system's inhabitants. Failure to feed fish can result in the decline of their health and can spiral into issues with their immune systems, often leading to the appearance of diseases such as ick. Failure to test water parameters can quickly lead to an excess or absence of any given parameter, and oftentimes our inhabitants will suffer as a result of this. The moral of the story is that these reef inhabitants are our pets and a long-term commitment, so it's our responsibility to stay on top of their care so that they can live long and happy lives. So do your water changes, test your parameters, and take care of your animals so that they can thrive and so that you can have a beautiful reef to show off to your friends and family. Alright, that covers everything for this episode, and we hoped you were able to learn something from watching this video. If you liked this video and want to see more videos like this, give this video a like and hit that subscribe button. We want to know your best advice for having success in reef keeping, so leave a comment below and let's all get better together. Also, if you missed any of our previous videos, check out the links on the screen and give them a watch. Until next time, happy reefing and see you soon.